when someone is fatigued I'm dealing with family members now, even up in Chicago and Detroit, where you can hear it on their, when you're on the phone with them, whether that's a FaceTime or just vocal, all the things they got going on now. They were already the first teacher, mom and daddy, but now they're the second teacher with a curriculum they had no time to prepare for. Hey, here's the curriculum. That was the end of the last school year, and now it's transferred over to, hey, here's a laptop. Hope the software is up to date, and let's have this 5, 6, 7, 8 year old or even higher sit at a computer and stay focused while everything else is going on around the house, um, as well as the parents still having to have that day to day, whether that's a Zoom call or there may be parents that have to still meet with clients, such as the hair care industry, where clients either come into the house or an off-site area, whether that's at the salon or a neutral place. It's so many different variables and dynamics that are causing fatigue, and that circles back to financial goal setting, because it's one of those. Okay, it's has to be stressed that it's okay to let's regroup and talk to somebody in that financial services sector that can hear what you're going through, as well as, all right, let's revisit what we've talked about in the past, or if this is an introduction conversation, this is now the best time to do it. Because one of my favorite sayings is that, what's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. What's the second best time to plant a tree? Right now. So that's how it ties back in, financial goal setting with all of the fatigue going on, hearing about heroes, especially in Black culture, graduating on to the afterlife, as well as personal loved ones that loctician, hair salon owner, um, independent business owner, booth renter is dealing with their own challenges with public health situations within their children, their auntie, my uncle. Um, it's tough. It's tough. And now I sent my sons back to school, and it's that, okay, well, what's gonna happen to them? I have to give them this tough talk, like, hey, if you take your mask off, then that's on you. But I'm telling you, you don't want to do that because you don't know what's in the atmosphere, etc. That leads back to my boys are in baseball, and if there's a situation where they start coughing or they lose that sense of taste, then now they're kicked off the team for 2 weeks. They got to quarantine. So it's tough. So it's like you got to keep looking to see if they're gonna hide something from me because they want to play or they want to be around their peers. And so all of that comes back to the financial goal setting of, you know, as the parent, whether they're single, married, or if they don't even have kids, just to have a revisit talk as to, hey, this is what I have in front of me. This is what I'm dealing with financially as well as holistically. And that's what this talk is about.
Great introduction, because it is now after it is now 8 after the hour.
Oh,
So
sorry.
no,
Somebody jumped in.
he was on such a roll and had such important things to say. I wanted to go ahead and let the conversation flow. But welcome everybody to our webinar today. We are talking about financial goal setting. You all caught us on the tail end of the conversation about how financial goal setting is so important in times where we are stressed, things are uncertain, and there's just a lot of and a lot of things that are known that we are still very much concerned about going on now. So I am going to go ahead and turn it over to BT so that he can just, get us started with this presentation / conversation about financial goal setting.
Okay. Thank you, Elaine, and the entire ANHC Pro family, the network. this is about just taking a brief exhale of everything that's going on in your life. As I mentioned previously, if you happen to jump on early, is that, and Roseanne is piggybacking off of this as well, is that it's about navigating the fatigue. One of my favorite poets, Sean Jay-Z Carter, once said, sometimes you got to know how to move in a room full of vultures. And right now, the vultures are the pandemic. It's the fatigue trying to weigh you down. It's the media. You don't know if they're on some type of campaign to scare folks, or what's going on with the kids. So this is a great time to revisit what you're currently doing in your financial life, as well as if this is your first time. A good intro is now the time to do it, and tying it into financial goal setting. So we're going to go right into it. And I want to start off by saying that this is also about, you know, what you really need and what's nice to have. And I've been getting a lot of emails from Nike, East Bay. You know, some people may be like, I got an email from the Gucci store. And it may seem like, oh man, you know, these blowout sales, 30% off, 45% off. And you feel like, you know, maybe this is a FOMO situation, fear of missing out. Is a stimulus check coming? I might as well do a little something. But it's also a good time to revisit that financial well-being of knowing, yes, in the state of fatigue, in the state of, it's so much easier versus going to the store and walking past an end cap and you seeing a sale, versus now it's just being boom, push notification to your phone. Mm-hmm. I'm talking to somebody out there today. Well, you're like, okay, yeah, I've thought about my goals. It's always a good time to revisit. And the beauty of what we do with Mass Mutual Perimeter is that, you know, we have what we call no fee financial analysis through fact finders. So we're going to get right into it with the financial well-being. Of course, it's having that control of that day-to-day. You know, you're operating your finances, and also having that capacity of absorbing a financial shock. And that leads to, you know, again, what's most important to you? What do you prioritize? What is on your short list? And for a lot of people, it's a series of things. People are tired of renting, mortgage rates are brought up, getting out of debt, work optional, which I call retirement. Folks that are looking to increase their specializations, whether your parents are supporting you or you may have to support them in that time of need. And there's folks who are still out there looking to have that dream of a lifetime of vacation somewhere out in Brazil or Cuba, etc. Those are all real conversations people are having. And these are all things that are tied back into being relevant to what's going on in the economy. So jumping right over to addressing again those wants, those needs, and what are your concerns. You know, I hate to quote our president, but he did make a statement that some people took when he said, you know, it is what it is. I'll say paying bills will always be there. You know, I have a family member that has what I call big dreams. He's always like, hey, I quit my job today and I'm getting ready to do this and that. And my pop always brings him back home. I said, okay, that's fine. But all I know is come first of the month, rent is due. I don't care how you get it, but that needs to be paid. So the concerns are always going to be in that conversation, paying those bills, also eliminating that debt, and how to have that balance is something that we at Mass Mutual specialize in. We take pride in having those conversations of what I call tough talk. You know, what are those realistic numbers that we're working with to be able to what we call be suitable for your needs and your loved ones. So again, here's another one where we're talking about, of course, what you're bringing in, which is your income. What are you saving? And as I stated in previous talks, is that a lot of folks in America aren't saving 10%. And I'm one to press the needle and say it should be somewhere near 25, that I may say 60% of what you're bringing home. And I'll explain that as we continue the slides. As well as figuring out once you do that, it makes it easier once you're looking to get out of debt, when you're looking for work optional retirement.
Hey, BT, can I jump in here a minute to talk about, go back to the previous slide, to just have a conversation with the audience around, you know, the whole debt issue. I think a lot of people, you know, savings is an ideal, but that whole pressure around debt and living on credit card debt, or those, you know, you buy a new house, you fill it up with furniture based on debt. You know, I want to poll the people on the phone, on the audience, to talk about, you know, is this a reality for them as they manage their business, as they manage their personal lives? Is debt something that's the big elephant in the room sometimes?
So clarify your question for me, please.
The question I'm asking is, what keeps them up at night is the area of debt, less so than retirement, is managing their debt and being able to get a handle on it. Something that is, you know, a concern of theirs more so than, you know, savings. You know, if you can't save because you have to pay off all this debt, what's the solution? So the question to the individuals on the phone is paying off your debt a priority for you, or not accumulating more debt a priority for you?
Okay, so yeah, so if you all could put in chat, you know, if debt is a priority for you, y'all could put your answers in chat. That would be greatly appreciated. And while you're doing that, there is a question. BT, you said save 25%. Someone asked, is that 25 after or before taxes?
Good question.
Great question.
So, it's after taxes. Your personal income, your take home is after taxes.
Because Uncle Sam takes his off the top. You know, they get theirs. The IRS, they get theirs off the top. So, you know, you've got to be concerned about that. And the reason I asked the question, BT and Elaine, is because for some people, they can't get to the savings because they saddled with so much debt. And I want to be realistic about, you know, which comes first. You know, which should they handle first? And BT, you may want to, you know, answer that.
Okay, so yeah, that's why I wanted clarity on the question. So really, it's like, are you even at a point where it's debt? Is it debt? Are you even at a point where you can say, we're talking about 25%? Are you clearing 25% every month, where you have that to save? You know, so I guess that's part of the question. And someone did say not accumulating more debt is one of the things that is a priority for them.
Excellent.
Which is awesome. So there's two things. You have what's called secured debt, and you have unsecured debt. Unsecured debt means there's no collateral. What I mean by collateral is you didn't have to put up your home, you didn't have to put up your car in order for that lender to say, okay, I'm comfortable with giving you the money. Such as a credit card, which a lot of people have, versus something that may be more secure, where you had to put up your house. So conversations I've had with clients with unsecured debt, you can always make arrangements, you know, that you get the mailers, you get the emails as to, hey, this is how much you must pay us based off of this variable interest, which means it fluctuates. It's not fixed. And that's when you put yourself back in the driver's seat to say, hey, this is how much I can pay you this month, next month, this quarter, etc. At the same time, and Roseanne, you can jump in here, where if there is a fluctuation in what you are willing to pay, most of those credit card companies won't ding you because you gave them something, you called them, you negotiated a price. And again, because it's unsecured, it's not as if they're going to say, well, we're going to take your car, we're going to take your home. So it also reminds you that you can empower yourself when you talk to these companies. They already know they're overcharging you for the interest rates. So if they can get 10% off of a Visa credit card versus them charging you 20%, they'll take it.
And this conversation lends itself to what BT is saying, to good debt and bad debt. If it's a simplistic form, good debt is, you need a, you know, if you have a home and you have a mortgage, that's good debt. If you went to school and you had to take a student loan, that could be in the good debt because, you know, you did something that's going to benefit you down the road. But if you just, you know, have 5 or 6 credit cards, 3 of them are gas card, two of them are, you know, MasterCard, Visa, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the month, you're paying 5 or 6 different people, but you're paying them the minimum balance. That's not a good practice, nor is it gonna get you out of the hole, because at the end of that period, you probably paid 3 or 4 times for that pair of shoes or that trip that you went on or whatever it might be. So I would tell you, as we're talking today, and you think about debt reduction and getting control of it, is to reduce that debt, reduce the amount, negotiate with your credit card provider for a lower interest rate. They're willing to keep all their clients right now. They even, even if you don't pay the bill this month, you're good, you're okay. But guess what? Use that as leverage right now to say, this is a tough time for everyone. However, if you can consolidate, get a lower interest rate, that's a great thing to do. On the good debt, you got to pay your mortgage, you got to pay on time. We need a car to get around in Atlanta. The buses don't run near where I live, nor the train. So I need my car to be always working. So that's, in a sense, good debt. You don't have to have a high-end luxury car. I want to be clear about that. You just need a functional car. Toyota versus name an Infinity, per se. You know, a nice Sentra versus some other high-end car, a 500 series Mercedes. You know, you weigh, they're both gonna get you from point A to point B, but guess what? That monthly bill, it seems like it's less than 30 days sometimes that it comes around. So good debt versus bad debt.
Yeah,
clarify.
Yeah, and I don't know if everyone knows this, but there are, let's say, if you just throw out somebody that's successful you can think of, and when you see their car, since Roseanne mentioned, it's like, oh wow, they must be successful because they're driving a new Audi A8 or S7. But some of the wealthiest people in the world are driving. Buffett is driving a 2005 Cadillac because he realized, you know what? I don't want to keep paying a note every month. Now, some people, they want that. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. But it also reminds you of, I love music. I grew up with music. So there's another group called Jodeci. You may have heard of them. And I always remember that lyric when I'm talking to the credit card companies. The lyric goes, come and talk to me. They just want you to talk to them. You'll be surprised that if you just get on the phone.
Correct. Versus
if you ever been in a relationship, if you don't talk to your significant other, you're going to have some problems sooner than later. They're going to put an APB out on you. They can't find you. Now they want to check your phone and all of that. But circling back, it goes to, if you just have that open conversation, you'll be surprised how accepting they'll be for what you're willing to pay them. And now you're back in the driver's seat. And that frees up money that can go to other things, savings, retirement planning, and doing the things that you went to work for. Taking care of your family, whatever that may be. So I hope that answered the question. So as we mentioned earlier, this circles back to the network's question earlier about, you know, what would be a personal savings goal. As I mentioned, the table talk is always 10%. But if you can get beyond that, it's kind of like a ball player. I was watching Game 7 yesterday with the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz. And you're looking at 10 of the best in the starting lineup. Yet they made it. And I would say 8 out of the 10 are comfortable in their roles. But it's 2 guys that are now trending on Twitter, a guy named Donovan Mitchell and another guy named Jamal Murray. Let me know if I'm losing you. But I say that because everybody else was okay with, yeah, I made it to the starting lineup, got my 10% savings goal. But those 2 have been going on a tear with each other, saying, you know what, I want more, because it's going to pay off in the long run for that instance when it comes to contract negotiations. And this setting is saying, I want to put in more into that piggy bank because it's going to pay out for the long run when it comes to, you know what, I was putting in more, which gave me the same amount of time as everybody else. But if you put in more, and we're looking at maybe another 30 years of your working years, we can do simple math on that to show that you're going to reap a larger harvest. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day, of knowing if I put in more now in my prime working years, I'll have the ability to say one of my favorite words to people. No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't feel like doing that. No, I want to go here. I'm controlling my time again. So just giving you one of the things that I was inspired with yesterday is saying, okay, those 2 individuals said, I'm going to do more than what I've been advised to do. I'm going to put in more. And that's what getting past that 10% of what the average is on a national scale.
I want to just jump in for 1 minute.
Sure.
Kudos to all of those on the call who have done an amazing job being debt-free. I want to acknowledge that there are people who are fiscally prudent on this call who have done a really good job about sticking to a budget, establishing a savings goal, and being very mindful and intentional about what their short-term goals are and their long-term goals. So hand clap to those on the phone who have done that. Now, you know, when I talk about good debt and bad debt, in order to, if you're looking for a home, if you're looking to start a business, they look at your credit worthiness. So you have to have some kind of credit established. My 22-year-old doesn't have any credit. You know what I told her? Go get a credit card. Go get a Forever 21 card and start there and build it up little by little. The goal is to establish, maintain, and be in the 700 plus credit score range so that you can have access and ability to get whatever is out there when you need it. That they're asking you to come take a loan from them. You're not begging them, please choose me to get a mortgage. You're saying I have choice because my credit worthiness is at a certain level and stage that I can go to any financial institution and ask them, whether it's a credit union, a bank, insurance company, or whomever else, to build that credit or have access to have that credit. So number 1, kudos to those of you who are doing an amazing job and are very intentional about it. And secondly, there is still an opportunity to build and be very successful doing that. But it takes a roadmap, a track to run on, and it takes you having some deferred gratification from time to time. That's my little 2-minute soapbox.
So
And Roseanne,
on that subject, oh, go ahead, BT.
I was just gonna add that, yes, you may see credit card mailers that come in or emails, etc. I would say the secret sauce to that is only spend 30% of what the max allowance is. So if you got a credit card with a max allowance is $1,000, then you shouldn't spend any more than $300. That's part of the formula when you look at those FICO scores.
So with that being said, I know people always say get a credit card to build your credit up, but you have to use the credit card in order to get the benefit of that. So is that the I guess you kind of answered my question in a roundabout way. So you want to use it, so you want to like spend, whether you do it on your grocery, something you're already spending money on or already, you want to use it, and so if you use it, let's say you use it every month and you pay it off every month, and you're only using the 30%, and you do it every month. That's building your credit, though. That is
absolutely
okay.
Building your credit.
Yeah.
I have a credit card, like I told you guys before, that I only use for emergency. Like, it's kind of like my little emergency / happy fund, if you want to call it. And sometimes they penalize you for not using it. They kind of like push stuff to you, like, you do have this money, you can use it on these things, you can pay it for these things. So you have to be careful, because we can get carried away by buying things that are nice to have, but not things that we need, just so that we can, hit the card. American Express is one of those that you can get points, you can have travel and all that stuff, but you got to pay that off at the end of the month. Most of them you have to pay off. Now, what American Express has done is they created these other cards that you can get with the branding of American Express.
Yeah.
And you got to pay them like a regular credit card. So you can put your card out and it's an American Express card, but you're paying that over time as well. All we're saying is just be mindful of what's coming into your household and what you're committing to these areas that may not benefit you. Those areas that benefit you, a house, a car, you got to pay student loans and those type of things. You want to be on time, you want to pay more than the minimum, and you want to not exhaust your credit limit at any given time. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense, and I'm sure for most people on the line that is specific. That's kind of specific to where they are. But I do want to make sure that we have a young lady who put a question in chat that kind of generate this conversation, and she's, like you said, she's been paying her stuff off. She just pay with life, pay as you go. She got a credit card, just kept it for emergency purposes and didn't use it, and they literally shut the credit card. They turned, they discontinued it, and she needs it to build credit for her home. So that's why I asked the question. So she can use that card for something that she already spends money on, like groceries or gas.
Correct.
Just pay it off at the end of the month. It won't cost her any different, but it will allow her to build that credit.
It shows activity.
Without increasing her spending in any way.
It shows activity. So rather than pay cash for something or use your debit card, once a month or once a quarter, I would just flash that card and say, you know what, I'm going to get my nails done. Instead of paying cash, I'm going to use this card. There's activity on it, but it's only like $35. I don't care. It's still being used. You know what I mean? At the end of the year, I really use it for things related to work. So it gets some use, but it's not a monthly usage. Does that make sense? It's being used and they can see activity, but I'm not showing that card every month. That's my backup plan.
So you don't need to use it every month.
Well, if it was me,
you don't need to use it every month. You need.
So if it was me, I would say use it every month, but cap it at the 30% of what the max of the allowance is, because it's going to show to the credit card company, this person continues to use the card, and you know what I'm going to do with that $1,000 max? After a quarter, maybe semi-annual, 6 months, I'm going to increase that 1,000 to maybe 2,000 or 3,000. And now you've built a higher ceiling for what that 30% is for you to spend. You're going to look like a good steward to the credit card company. And then when it comes down to, let's say, refinancing for a home or a car, that's going to be brought up when they pull that credit card score or credit score, excuse me.
And every credit card now ties it back to credit score. I just looked at mine today.
Oh, big time.
Chase or Citi or whatnot, many of them are looping in with the credit card, in the, what do you call those agencies? And they're telling you what your score is. So you can see over a 6-month period, either your score is going up, down 2 points on what's causal to it. I mean, they have metrics or algorithms built in that will show you that. So I will tell you guys, look into that when you pull your credit, you look at your credit score, look and see what's really affecting it, because they'll tell you. You increase your usage over here, you decrease the usage over here, your zero balance over here, now you're above your normal spending threshold. So there are things that you can do to be mindful of, whether you say every month, and then also every month, look at what you're spending using your debit card. Because sometimes we're just flashing that card and we're not seeing that it's, it's eating into some of the things that we would normally do differently if we really lived on a budget and had a savings goals and all the things that we're telling you today. So BT, I'm giving it back to you.
Right. And my last point on this slide is that our, Mass Mutual perimeter, we do offer financial vehicles that when you're ready, after we review your financial analysis, there are savings vehicles that are set up where you can use it as a line of credit. It's called a policy loan, where your credit cards, your credit score will never be ran. No one will tell you no, and they'll never tell you when you need to pay it back. So, if you're interested in that, that's something that I'll have my information up on the end of this seminar, and that's also an option. It's another way where you take back control of your time and the money you built up in what I call your warehouse of financial allocation. So as we mentioned, every year I expect everybody on this webinar to have new income. That's more clients, because you've had more time to advertise. Facebook is just a genius when it comes to advertising. I'm just now getting a hold of, oh my God, I can reach out to this entire zip code and go over here, and I do work in 5 states, and I'm just now getting a grasp of that. So I expect new income that's going to lead to reduced expenses versus, I've seen it where there's business cards, flyers, etc., whether that's at the anchor store like a Publix, Kroger, a Jewel Osco, etc. I've seen it on the windshields, but you can reduce expenses when you master what social media is to offer. The mailing campaigns are also powerful. They can tell, which clients, prospective clients, are actually opening the emails. And that's when hey, that's another click funnel that you can send more to. So those are all things that's gonna put you in a position for saving more money that can be used for the business as well as personal expenses. So 2 of my favorite stores that we have down in the great state of Georgia, I'm also from Illinois, is Costco and Sam's Club. You'll be amazed how you'll go inside of a Walmart or a Target, and even a box of cereal, real skinny box, will be just around the same, what's called unit price, or retail price, excuse me, as if you went to Costco, and the only difference is the unit price, which means you get a larger amount for the same price. What I do at Costco is, I get like the business card where, hey, if you spend a certain amount of money at the end of the year, Costco is mailing you a check that actually pays for the yearly membership. And I actually, my mind is saying, hey, I actually bought more with the unit price than I did going to Walmart. So that's another way to look at how you're saving and reducing those expenses. I got 4 kids. So every time I'm in the kitchen, they in the kitchen, eating up the food and got the light on. And so I'm always like, okay, how can I save money on this? So this is another way to do it.
Hey, can I ask a question to Elaine and maybe some of the people on the phone? As it pertains to their business, using the same concept of Costco and Sam's, are there manufacturers or some of the products that you use in your business that you can tap into from a wholesale perspective, where you're doing a regular monthly, you know, instead of buying as you need to, they're dropping it off every month consistently? Is there an opportunity to do something like that with their business so that they can kind of manage their expenses a little bit better?
So there are some beauty supplies and some product companies that offer plans that are similar to what you're talking about. And then of course for wholesale, you know, you don't have to buy a certain amount on a monthly basis. You just have to have have to prove that you're a retailer essentially. So if you retail, then you're able to get things at wholesale rates. And that'll include your back bar.
Right. So some beauticians or stylists, when you go to their shops, they have a section that they display some of the products that they use, and they offer them for sale. You know, after they use them and they say, oh, this product is really good, they offer either the grease, the spray, the gel, whatever it is. I'm just remembering from way back when. Is that still in play, or people are doing things a little bit differently these days in order to be more fiscally prudent of, you know, we're in a new normal now. So don't know if they're doing a little bit of that or a lot of that, or they've shifted to something else. So I would love to hear what they're doing to help manage those fixed expenses that some of them may have.
So yeah, so when I say retailing, that's what I mean, selling products to your clients. And that is something that we always recommend for stylists to do, especially within the last 4 months or so, where you can not only do that in your shop, you can also do it online. So if you're able to retail now, if for some reason your shop's not open, you can still reach your clients and still have something for them to purchase from you. So it helps drive up revenue as well as being a retailer and buying things at that wholesale rate.
Yeah, because it's two things that when I go inside of a salon, a hair gallery, that I look for is, okay, do they have, what are they selling? Especially if they have their own products. I actually still have something called Nazarite oil. Okay. Nazarite oil is, there's a hair gallery called Christian Fields in Chicago on the South Side. And that is the big buzz around Chicago. If you can get some Nazarite oil, and they got their own label on it, private label, as well as lock concoction that I use on my sons. So they have a high top fades, and I'll twist up the top portion of their head. I just love getting those type of products. I know it's fresh, and I want to support Black businesses. So, you know, that's another way where they're driving in sales, and they sell it online. So I can order from Chicago, from Georgia.
Absolutely.
So as we said about, you know, circling back to, you know, what your budget is, especially in times like this, what's an automatic savings? Also, what are you automatically paying into that you may want to circle back and say, well, maybe I should take that off of auto pay. Maybe I don't need that anymore. That gym membership that has been closed for 4 months. Looking for opportunities that offer higher yields or return on investment or savings, as well as we mentioned, lower costs through new technologies, Facebook versus possibly doing the traditional printing of flyers, etc. You can cast out a wider net through social media. Also, as I mentioned earlier about work optional, also known as retirement, for some people, you know, you're doing what you love, so you may not even be looking at that, but maybe one day you want to step aside for a couple months and say, I want to do this. I want to travel the world. I want to see my folks down south or out west. So this is a question too. You know, how big should your nest egg be for work optional? And our recommendation is that it should be 15 times of what you're currently bringing home. And that may seem like, what? But you'll be surprised once you do that quick, simple calculation and say, okay, if I ever wanted to step away for a couple months, or God forbid something would happen, well, I need to be that caregiver of myself or to one of my loved ones, what would it look like? So we always recommend and stress, you know, building that nest egg right now. And also knowing, you know, how to talk through it or what that would look like. So we've done a little crunching the numbers ourselves, is that it would actually lead to 75% of your pre-retirement or work optional income. And that's substantial. God forbid you get hurt. If you had a individual policy, if your spouse was working for, let's say, a FedEx or Staples, whether that's corporate or retail, et cetera, distribution center, and they may offer like a family disability policy. Most of those policies, if you look at the fine print, may only cover, Roseanne, what is it, 60%?
60%.
60% of what you're bringing in. And I always say, can you really live off of 60% of what you're bringing in? Some people can. But for me, I would have some serious concerns about that. So this gives you another option to say, okay, 75% is 15% higher than that 60%, as well as you also controlling what you can do with the money and when you want to step away briefly or for the long term. You know, you're in the driver's seats for that. And, you know, for this is more of a Q&A again as to, does anyone on this webinar know what year they're looking to step away? And I know you may be like, I don't know. I want to do this forever. So I talked to my son. He's 7. He plays baseball, starting pitcher, shortstop. He's balling. And he came up to me and said, I want to do this forever. So I always ask people, you know, what year do you want to step away, or do you want to do this forever? And if so, you can just type it in the Q&A chat. And Elaine, if you can give us some.
Sure. So everybody online, please type in what year. But what I was going to ask you is, when you say what year, are you asking what age or what year?
I'll clarify. Both. What year and what age.
Okay.
We're trying to get to know your personal age, but you know, you should have an idea.
No, yeah, you don't have. Yeah, you can do
You know
either
what I mean?
or.
Yes.
Either or, that's fine.
You know, us women, how we feel very guarded about that.
You know what I always say? I ran into a 60-year-old woman I grew up with. I grew up with her kids. They grew up in Chicago with me. They moved to Houston. And she just celebrated her 60th birthday, posted it on Facebook. And my dad called me and he said, man, did you see Miss Deborah? I said, I sure did. And I better get off her page before I get in trouble. Because she done aged real good. She's seasoned. She looks good.
Yep. You know, Social Security says you can retire at age 62.
Right.
Or full retirement age, which we call FRA, is for some people, depending on what age you are today, could be anywhere from 66 onwards up to 70. It depends. In our business, we recommend that you wait your full retirement age, which for some of us, it's beyond 65. And so, you've got to be able to manage your money. We just talked about how much would you need to save. as part of your retirement. So if you're making 50,000 and you want to save 15 times that, do the math, 15 5 is 75, that's 750,000. You add inflation to that. The 750 that it's worth today may not be worth the same thing by the time you retire. So you want to save a little bit more, or you want to cut back on your lifestyle, or maybe work part-time. So those are options that you do have.
And then
that you need to think about.
I'll say this too, because I'm sure, and I always love engaging in folks that'll say, you know, I don't want to cut back. And I'm one of those folks as well. And the response I always have is just stay in that mindset of, I got to make more money. I got to talk to more clients. I got to make sure, you know, those referrals were out there, and figuring out how the network itself, ANHC Pro, which is that arm that you need to continue to fuel your business, is going to help you make more money. Every year you're out here, you have more experience. So that gives you a good balance of, hey, I don't want to cut back. I love what I do. I love my lifestyle. So I'm just going to make more money. And I'm going to talk to BT and Roseanne to figure out how we're going to do that.
So yeah, so we got some people who aren't sure, some people saying around 60. But the question I have for Roseanne is, you said retirement age, 62, is if you are independent, so you're working for yourself, is there really a retirement age?
Great, very good question. I'm independent. BT is independent. We work for a company, but we call independent contractors. So
Right.
I have a guy in my office who's 75, still coming to work every day. It may be part-time, but he's in the office as often as he can. And in this business that most of your members are part of, they run their own lives. They can work part-time, they can start it, they can stop it, they can move to another place, they can do hair, they can not do hair, they can teach, you know, they can come up with a product, they can sell it online. There's so many variables in terms of what they can do to maximize their income or their income potential between now and whatever that endpoint is. And there doesn't have to be an endpoint. Me personally, I think I'll wait my full retirement age, but I don't think I'll be fully retired. You understand? Because I think I have more life in me and more to give.
So what are you calling your retirement age? I guess that's my question.
Okay, for example, retirement could be 62 for some people, 65 and beyond.
And
so
what is that based on?
It's based on how much money you put into Social Security. Will be eligible.
But you're working for yourself.
If you're working
You're
for
still
yourself,
paying into Social Security.
Really?
So, yes. So
Okay.
you can get your Social Security, you can still keep working. It all depends on what you want to do. So there are things, that's why it's important that you sit down with a financial professional to assess what your situation looks like, because everybody's situation is unique. Some people may have come into the hair care industry after working a 9 to 5. So they have put in money in the Social Security system. Some
Yeah, those people have.
Totally independent. So they have to think about, how do I fund this myself if I have not paid into Social Security and I'm not eligible to receive anything from it? So you have both sides of the coin. Most of us, you know, this could be a full-time thing that we're doing today. It could change down the road. My old hairdresser ran a shop, did a shop for many years in Fayetteville, came to Atlanta, got married, moved, did it for a little while, worked for somebody else. Now she works for the IRS and she does hair on the side. So she has a full-time job that she's doing, but she does, if you call up and say, can you do 4 o'clock on a Sunday? She say, yes, ma'am, come on down. Only by appointment. So you've got a lot of people in your industry who are not a one-size-fits-all, if you want to call it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
So answer the question?
Yes.
here's another piece of that too, is that the good part about being an independent contractor, whether booth renter, salon owner, is that there are other options. So you can do, if you qualify for the Roth IRA, the traditional IRA, IRA stands for the individual retirement account. There's also another option that's usually not spread out on CNBC or Bloomberg or CNN, is that some people use cash value life insurance. accounts as part of, hey, I'm going to funnel this. It's tax-free. It's in the IRS code. It's tax-free. I can take out policy loans, and down the line, I can also take out withdrawals that'll be tax-free if certain premium payments are met. But that's also an option to say, you know what? I'm also controlling when I can pull money and when I can deposit money. I'm saying that because, yes, we mentioned 62, 65, 67, but with the traditional retirement accounts, which are called qualified accounts, there's usually a stipulation of you have to be 59 and a half or older. Otherwise, Uncle Sam, the alphabet boys will come in there and slap your hand with a penalty.
Correct.
But with a cash value life insurance, there's another hybrid situation for savings and later down retirement. You can touch it as you please as long as the cash value is in there. So those are other options when it comes to work optional, personal savings, and retirement accounts.
Thanks, PT. That was very helpful.
You're welcome. So setting a debt payment plan, we mentioned this earlier about good and bad. And that also means, of course, creating that short list of setting those priorities. Making sure, okay, when is there going to be an elimination goal period? And that's something that we can have in a sidebar conversation if this piques your interest. This is a part of it too, when I mentioned about, you know, when is the best time to plant a tree 20 years ago, and when is the second best time to plant a tree right now. So looking at this review as to, you know, why are goals so important? I'm a firm believer, whether you're spiritual, religious, philosophical, is that, you know, the sad part of life is not achieving your goals. The sad part is having no goals to look forward to achieving. As some people would say, low aim is sin. So that's why we're talking today, because you're interested in saying, I want more, I want better. And living in a capitalistic society such as the US, you need money to drive what you want to do in life. That's the bottom line. That's why we're talking today. So that's all tied into your goals: income, savings, work optional retirement, and figuring out the best strategies to curb the debt and ultimately eliminate the debt. So again, it's tying back into that immediate gratification as well as that deferred gratification. Similar to that saying about the tortoise and the hare. Going back to what I would consider fast life. I'm really big in the hip hop culture, and I've watched a lot of my favorite artists pass away last year in 2019 as well as 2020, and it's because they were down this fast life. Unfortunately, it was like, where were the goals being set? Whatever that may be, that's a separate conversation, but it's one of those, they should have been able to obtain those. And we want to be that partner to help you in meeting your goals and starting where you are. So of course, that's increasing your annual income. That's having a realistic savings plan based off of what your take home is. What is your target number for your work optional nest egg for that annual income, 15 multiplied of what that is, as well as, you know, planning for that debt and paying it down. And that's what it's all about. So, Roseanne, do you have any thoughts as we close?
No, I just want to encourage the participants that, you know, this is a real issue that we are very concerned about in our community. based on the work that we do. And this pandemic and the current environment that we're in has certainly showed us that we need to save more, we need to create a bigger emergency fund, and we need to sit down with a financial professional to assess and get our house in order so that we can sleep well at night.